morning, everybody. Have another Zoomer Times TV presentation. We just had, of course, a wonderful theater presentation from the Lake Worth Playhouse, and now we're going to go into the other direction. This is a serious discussion because it's about immigration, and we have a real expert to talk to you about that. His name is Chandler Finley. He has a partner who is Stefania Bologna, and they do great work for immigrants. Now, yes, his name is the same as mine because he happens to be my son, but I'm very proud of him, but I'm also very interested in what he does with immigrants because we're seeing them down at the border in Mexico, Arizona, and all those Texas. But I know, Chandler, you've been in the immigration world for many, many years. This is something you chose to do. How many have you actually been a lawyer working in this area?
Well, I've been a lawyer since 1998, and I've been practicing immigration when we first started in West Palm Beach or Palm Beach because all of our clients were foreign clients, and they needed to come to the United States to start businesses and apply for their family to come join them in the U.S.
And so what kind of clients do you get now?
Well, all clients. We have mostly the business clients. We're talking about investors, companies coming to start offices in the United States, importers selling goods in the United States, and they all have to open an office here, representative office. I have a foreign bank coming to South Florida that wants to open their first Florida office from the Caribbean, and so they're opening a bank, and then they'll bring in some of their top bank officers, directors, but then they'll start hiring Americans to staff the business and the banks here, things like that. So even though we bring in lots of companies, when they start, immigration laws only allow them to bring the owners, the directors, and the top, executive officers. Any lower jobs are required to be filled by American U.S. workers. So they bring a lot of new jobs and create a lot of new jobs in South Florida and the whole United States. We do a lot of businesses opening up in New York and Chicago and Los Angeles also. We handle that here in Miami because, Miami is a jumping point. It's the center of the Latin American, Caribbean, South America. There's a lot of companies open in Miami, and then they open offices in New York and LA. And as an example, we have some in the design district, some furniture companies that have offices in New York and LA because they want to sell their furniture. Miami's a great market to get started, and then they open offices in New York, and they need employees and people there to do business in New York and also Los Angeles.
My guest is Chandler Finley, and he's an immigration attorney here in Miami and also in Wellington. Let me give you a number if you want to get in touch with him. It's 561-478-90. Excuse me. Yeah. No, let me just get that. That's 9930. Is that correct?
Yes, 9930. Right.
Okay. And in Miami, it's 305-379-7676. Again, 561-478-9930. Or 305-379-7676. It's Finley and Bologna International. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, for the lots of the other types of immigration we do a lot of family immigration, and we do many domestic worker immigration also. I know in Palm Beach County and Miami, we do a lot of nannies and home health aides, nurses for the hospitals and healthcare centers, things like that. So it's a lot of professionals in the medical industry, and they've been very active, of course, very needed during the COVID time. And we're still able to apply for green cards and things like that for people and businesses. And we also do a lot of—
So what's happening, Chandler, with this DACA? Chandler, what's happening with DACA?
Right. Well, DACA basically is like the Dreamers, we call it Dreamers Act, the deferred arrivals. and those people, of course, their time was going to terminate and expire back during the Trump last year, and then the courts, there was a lawsuits filed in court which were found to be viable, and they stopped Trump from terminating all the Dreamers of the DACA Act and got an extensions. But of course, if Trump had been reelected, then those cases probably would have had problems and they'd be all terminated again. But Biden has given an extension for all those people on DACA, the Dreamers, and also for Haitian TPS, temporary protective status. And he's made President Biden has made some statements that they're going to try to pass a legislation that will allow the Dreamers to apply for permanent residence if they qualify and to stay in America instead of having their temporary status terminated and then all be sent back to where they came from. So there's been a lot of changes with the new President Biden over what Trump was trying to do.
So do you know who are Dreamers as clients?
Yes, we have many clients as Dreamers. Most of them were students or young children that entered the United States at no fault of their own, but their parents maybe came in and became illegal, and then now the children are legal. They've been in universities, now graduating from university. And so we've been applying for them to get them their status and to then be able to, get a work permit and work and pay taxes and get medical care and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, be hard on you, Chandler. And let me ask you a question now I have you, because we see the pictures down, in Arizona and Texas and all that, and our hearts break. It's just a big immigration problem, and it didn't start with Trump or Biden. It's been going on for so many years. Is there a solution to that, Chandler?
Well,
it's a big question. I know
yeah,
you're probably not ready for that.
Question. Right. The problem is these are becoming economic refugees and not really political refugees. So when they apply for political asylum, because there's a lot of crime or problems in their country, it doesn't qualify for political asylum. So most of the cases will be denied. And that's why, but they're so backed up. I have cases right now that are scheduled in immigration court for the year 2023. Not even this year, not even next year, but 2023. They're so backed up on getting appointments. And so those people are going to be remaining in the U.S. on a work permit until, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years go by. And that was the difference. Trump was trying to say, let them stay outside of the United States and not be allowed in the United States to apply for these applications, but let them apply for the applications outside the United States, stay in Mexico or stay in Guatemala or El Salvador, apply from there, and then have an interview process where they would trickle in as the applications were either denied or approved. If they approved, they let them in. Under the current, and even before Trump, a lot of them are able to come to the U.S. and apply when they arrive in the U.S. So they're actually inside the U.S. They're processed and they're given court dates, and then they're allowed to come into the United States and wait for their court dates. So it's a really big political issue, that's happening. And what's also interesting is you may think that there's a big, since Biden was elected, that there's an increase in the number of immigrants coming to the border, but the statistics actually show that it's a seasonal matter. Right now, it's time for agriculture and everything to come to the United States, and a lot of people come to the United States for the seasonal increase in the numbers coming to the U.S. So it's really, I've seen on the news anyway, the statistical numbers, it's not really an increase, but it's the same seasonal increase they have every year. So has nothing to do with the fact that President Biden came in, that now they're all, rushing to the United States. However, there is, you have to give money not money, but economic assistance to the governments in Latin America so we can, prevent the people from coming to the United States. If they have more economic ability to earn a living down in Latin America. There's also, there's politics of talking about climate change. They're starving in the Latin America. They're not able to earn a living, and they're trying to come to America so they can, survive. Those are problems. We have to continually try to help them in Latin America and try to keep them in Latin America and work in Latin America instead of coming here. But those are a lot of political problems that can't be solved.
So let me ask you a question, though, but other countries are having the same problem with immigrants, aren't they?
Well, sure. I mean, the immigrants from Nicaragua, for instance, they have to go through El Salvador, have to go through Guatemala, they have to go through Mexico to get here. So that's a real influx of many thousand people coming. They know they're on their way to the United States. There's a lot of crime and problems that happen to them along the way. And then same thing for, Haiti. The Haitians came here after the earthquake in 2010, and then nothing in Haiti ever got done. The Haitians, a lot of money was sent to Haiti, and a lot of little projects were done. But on a whole, Haiti is still same. The Capitol building in Haiti is still fallen. It's never been resurrected or fixed. They still have bodies underneath the Capitol dome in Haiti that crashed in the earthquake in 2010.
Wow.
So what do the Haitians do? You have TPS, and they're basically, when are they going to go back to Haiti? But that's not going to happen either. So that's another temporary protective status. There's, hundreds of thousands of Haitians in South Florida now integrated. They're going to school, their kids are going to school, and now they are working here and they have work permits. And so, President Biden has tried to propose bills and legislation for Congress to have kind of an amnesty for the 11 to 15 million illegals that we have in the United States going back to Clinton days. So for the last 25 years almost, we just keep collecting and growing the illegal population here. What are we going to do with all the illegals here? And that's a political issue. If we can process them, give them green cards, make them legal here, we have to then also make our immigration laws trying to stop from, having more immigrants coming to the United States. But we need to legalize the ones that are here. That's very important, because that also means Social Security, taxes, they're driving without licenses, they don't have insurance, all those issues.
Big deal, yeah. And even the UK, they're having immigrants, aren't they? It seems like countries all over the world.
Yes, that's right. Well, there's a lot of problems in Africa, a lot of problems still in the Middle East with Syria and all the problems. And then they have a lot of immigrants that they bring into Europe. And the United Kingdom was one of the things why they were breaking Brexit, was because they didn't want the European policy of letting a lot of the immigrants, refugees from Africa and the Middle East areas to come to Europe and settle in. A lot of people are saying countries like Sweden, which have an open policy, you can't find any blonde Swedes anymore because they're mixing with so many refugees that Sweden and Scandinavian countries are not blonde anymore.
That's funny. Well, this is a big issue for you as an immigration attorney. I know that you do real estate and entertainment also, but the one thing I think people will be interested in what you do out in Wellington with the polo players.
Right. Well, those are all sports visas. We bring in polo players and equestrian players that do the competition. The biggest competition in the United States for polo is in Wellington, and also for equestrian. They have the Winter Equestrian Festival, which is going on now. Of course, they have limited seating and limited tickets. A lot of the games, they have no seating and tickets, but I think that the polo and equestrian grounds are opening up a little bit to have some fans come now. So they're coming from all around the world, from Argentina, from Brazil, from Europe, Belgium, British, Canadians, Mexicans, but they're coming in on sports visas. And one of the problems also is that even for the sports visas, they're getting stuck outside the United States because they can't get their visas. A lot of the embassies are closed in Europe. In Brazil, they're having problems with the coronavirus, and so they are not they're not issuing visas right now. They don't want people to come to the United States. You have to get the 3-day test right before you fly, and then if you're from countries like Brazil, you're on a special list. All the European countries are on the list. They can't just come to the United States. They can't get a visa. Even if they have the visa and there's a competition, they're missing it this year. And they're trying to come around. And, there's a thing that if you're coming from Europe, instead of coming directly from Europe, which you can't do right now, you have to leave Europe for 2 weeks, go to Mexico for 2 weeks vacation, and then you can come into the United States. It's basically a 2-week quarantine somewhere else outside of Europe, and then you can make it into the United States with only the 3-day test, show that you had that or show a vaccine. So that's happening in all the European countries, South Africa and Brazil. They can't just come straight to the United States without going somewhere first for 2 weeks, 14 days. So it's a real big problem. And
it's interesting because you had an immigration problem before, but now with COVID, all the rules have changed.
Right, even on all the cruise ships, we did a lot of musicians, dancers, all the musicals. We had a lot of cruise industry people here. The cruise ships have been, closed for a year now, and they're supposed to open on, I guess, March 1st. That didn't happen, and now the cruise ships are booking cruises for June 30th. I think you're opening up in June, July. And they hope that they're going to do that. So there's a lot of cruise people here. The musicals are doing the rehearsals, so they can be on the ships for entertainment. But they don't know what's going to happen. The ships are just sitting outside, anchored, waiting to come in. If you go to Bahamas, they're all waiting there to be coming to the United States to get passengers and go on their first cruises. They have all new rules about COVID safety and all that kind of stuff. They're visiting only sometimes. If you go on the ships, they go to their own islands that they own also. So everybody on the island is, COVID free, and they're trying to make an environment where everybody can get on the ships. That helps us for immigration purposes because we have a lot of people coming to get on the ships, but they won't get it. They won't even let them in the U.S. if they know the ships aren't sailing.
Well, when you think about it, Chandler, no one wants to be on a ship if there's COVID on the ship, because we saw what happened before. They were there for months, right?
Right, exactly. And they got stuck on the ship, but they wouldn't let them off in Florida, if you remember. So, the ships, they have, the other thing is you have to have been tested or maybe vaccine to get on the ship. Maybe they have a ship with only vaccine people. There's a lot of, programs, a lot of rides like that. They're trying to figure out what to do.
Maybe what they ought to do is the shot, the J&J shot, that's a good way to get people vaccinated.
Yeah, maybe that's right.
You need a couple, yeah, right.
Exactly.
Well, you have an interesting profession. Let me just tell everybody again, my guest is Chandler Finley, and he is a immigration specialist as well as entertainment and real estate. To call him was 561-478-0930 or 305-379-7676. The name of his organization is Finley and Bologna International. Stefania Bologna is his partner and his wife, and he has offices in Miami as well as Wellington. So Chandler, the whole immigration situation is kind of floating around here. So I guess when you get a call from someone, it's hard to know what to tell them because they all want to know, well, can I get a green card? What do you tell them? What do you say?
Yeah, well, there's the immigration laws are still valid. They're still in place. You can still apply for visas and still apply for green cards. And the laws didn't change. What changed is just COVID, and a lot of the Department of Labor is still open here in the U.S. The immigration is still open now. They did close their doors for a couple months, but they're open again. They're taking applications and processing them. The thing that's now happening is there's just so many new laws. To give you an example, last week, Biden issued a law giving temporary protective status to all the Venezuelans that are in Florida and the United States. You know, Venezuela still has 2 presidents and 2 governments going on there. And so it's a disaster in Venezuela. And all the Venezuelans have come to the United States legally, and many of them have jobs and have investments in real estate. But now they have the right to apply for a work permit like the Haitians had. The Venezuelans can now apply for work permits and stay in the United States until the political situation is resolved in Venezuela. So, you know, there's a lot of new laws that are always happening. President Biden is a little more humane in allowing some of these laws and things. For instance, President Biden is probably talking about reopening Cuba again. And so when the ships start sailing, maybe they'll go to Cuba again. And under Trump, they closed that down because Senator Rubio closed that down with Trump. They didn't want to have any contacts with Cuba. So there's lots of changes. The changes never stop. But generally, the law is still there. So if you want to apply for someone in family or apply for a worker, you can, you know, still make those applications and get green cards and work permits for people that are coming to the U.S. There's, of course, you know, with COVID, not only is it immigration limitations, but there's also economic limitations, you know, and health limitations. We have when you have problems with other countries like they're having in Europe or Brazil with this new strain in UK and Ireland, you know, there are valid health care restrictions on those countries. If people, the more the vaccine gets more people vaccinated, then, you know, we know that they should be able to travel more freely right now instead. So, and also in the US, you know, we still have an economic issue in the US. So immigration is trying to protect the American jobs first for those people affected by COVID. You know, maybe they lost their jobs. They should be able to try to find jobs here first versus bringing in all the foreigners to fill in those positions. But one of the things interesting is, you know, a lot of times, like truck drivers, for instance, there's a shortage of truck drivers, a shortage of nurses and healthcare workers here still because of all the, you know, delivery systems and packaging and all that kind of stuff, and the nurses for COVID. There's a lot of new shortages, and so we need more qualified people either to graduate or be trained for those jobs here, or to be brought in from other countries. So there's a real, you know, need for immigration, and as long as we do the immigration correctly, they come in with visas and get, you know, properly and admitted to the United States. Immigration is a good policy.
You know, we always hear that the reason why immigrants do so well here is because a lot of the work they do, Americans don't want to do it, and they also get paid less.
Right.
Is that true?
For all the agriculture, I mean, there's a visas.
Yeah.
There are seasonal agricultural workers that come by the thousands from some countries just when it's time to pick tomatoes, pick, you know, all the vegetables, sugar cane and all that kind of stuff in all the southern belt from California all the way to North Carolina. You know, that's all vegetation. In Florida, many people in Texas, all southern Texas is full of Mexicans coming and Latin Americans to pick all the vegetables and things like that. And that's very important for the rest of America. But you don't want to be paying, you know, $4 per tomato if you, you know, it's an economic issue and a political issue. If you're not getting, you know, paid with paying immigrants to come in, then, you know, you're going to be paying Americans, and that's not going to be, it's not going to work. You know, maybe there are some Americans that would like to go pick in the agricultural fields if they were paid a living wage. I don't know if you're going to be paying $15 an hour to pick tomatoes. It's a very difficult thing, and we all have to eat, and that's it. You know, but there should also be, you know, an economic situation to help those people also have medical care and other things like that, so that maybe they can live on the salaries that they get for picking tomatoes. It's a different, different system.
Yeah, it's interesting how you share this. See, when we see the news, that doesn't get part of it. It's like one thing or it's the other, but you were very good to explain, it's really a little of this, a little of that, and what do you do? And it's not a simple answer. But these people are flooding in here and they have their babies and they have their children. And then, of course, if they do have a child here, are they a citizen? Lots of stuff, right? It's not simple.
That's right. I mean, there was a lot of talk before. There's always talk for immigration is changing the baby. They call it the anchor baby. People come here and have a baby, and then that child is a citizen. And so everyone related to that child tries to get their green card based on that child and stay here. They tried to change that law, but that's in the Constitution. That'll take a constitutional amendment, which I don't think is going to happen across the country ever, to say that, if someone that's actually not someone that is born here is not going to be an American citizen. Of course, all those immigrants being born here have a chance to run for president too.
Right. Yeah, well, it's a great country, but lots of rules in Congress and senators, and we get the news. But see, you're really on top of it. How do you get your information on immigration? Is it something that is sent to you as a lawyer?
Yeah, well, I'm set up with all the emails and all the online media. We get, I get emails from immigration directly when they have news reports from the White House, directly news reports, the embassies. And then all my clients all around the world, we know when something happens in Argentina or something happens in Belgium because they call us. And sometimes we don't hear it on the news, but we hear it from mouth to mouth from our clients.
Amazing, isn't it? Well, we certainly are glad that they're doing things. And if you are looking for an incredible immigration attorney, he and his wife, Stefania Bologna, who are partners, been doing this for many years. They have a lot of passion, a lot of compassion, and they'll help you. So I'm very glad that, that Chandler's doing this. So in the last couple of minutes that we have, what would you like to tell people about what they should do if they're looking for an immigration lawyer? What should they have? What kind of documents? What should they be saying?
Well, the most important thing is to just get started, because a lot of people wait and wait and wait, and then it's too late. They need to find someone to try to file an application today. That's what's most important. Don't wait, because we don't know if President Biden is going to be able to get any legislation passed through Congress about immigration. But the current immigration laws have a lot of opportunities to apply for. So you need to apply now for your jobs and for your relatives. It's all possible now. That's what I tell everybody.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And the best thing of all is when you have somebody who has a green card, how long do they have to wait to become a citizen?
Well, right now, green card holders, it takes 5 years until you can apply for U.S. citizenship. If you're a green card holder and you're already married to an American, like a married couple, then you only have to wait 3 years to apply. And the applications take about 6 months to get the actual approval.
I see, and I think we've run out of time.
Yeah.
I see that we really do thank you, Chandler, so much for being with us, and we will put your interview on YouTube. And thank you, and good luck.
Great, thank you very much.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.